On this go around on the old Project The Judge, we're going to work on fixing up this fender right here. As you can tell, it has issues. Now, the rest of the fender's in really nice shape overall, minus this big rust hole. And I'll guarantee you, any car from this generation or this time era will have a very similar rust issue. So how do you fix it? That's what we're about to find out. Hey, well, welcome back. Here's what we got going on today. These are some pieces, parts that I picked up off the old interweb. This is the wrong side. Yeah, welcome back. These are some pieces, parts I picked up off the old interweb. This is for 69 or 68 GTO Le Mans. It came with the outer lower section for the fender and the inner brace. Now, I went ahead and drilled out the spot welds because it was welded into place. Reason being is this will suffer from the exact same problem our original fender did there because of the same reason. It's bare metal in between these two. Look at this, bare steel, no treatment whatsoever. So I had to drill out the spot welds and pop this loose because if I'm in here messing with it, I might as well at least put some kind of primer, some kind of paint on to slow this stuff down. If not, within 4 to 5 years, that fender may look about the same. So that being said, obviously this is what we're going to use to repair our fender. Now the question becomes, how much of it do you use? Because clearly this panel is much larger than we need. Our rust hole only consists of this area right about here. So do we have this nice little flange? Do we lap weld that into place, put a bunch of filler in it? Probably not. I don't think that's the way that I would want to go. So the other thing I think I'm going to do, I want to section this into place. Maybe where do you section that kind of thing? And of course our inner brace, it came with that, and this one is actually pretty rusty. Now the downside is I feel this is a little bit lighter gauge than original, but again, with all the bends and the contours in it, it's probably going to be just as strong or work just fine, but just an observation. So I guess what I'm going to say is if your inner brace is in really nice shape, maybe reuse it. Plus, if you don't cut it out, it's still in place to help make sure you ensure you got everything back where it needs to be. And the other thing kind of cool about this one, if you look really, really close, we get the camera to focus, they got this little laser etched rectangle. That's where you notch it out for your trim hole in case you wanted to. You've also got it marked out here for the 1969 GTO bag. You'll see little circles there. So now, of course, this is going to be right in the seam, but you could actually drill those out there, and I think those are in the right spots. So that's kind of a cool little touch, because normally you got to buy the template or figure out where the heck it goes, but not a bad deal. So nonetheless, I'll show you how we go with a plan to getting this thing cut out for all that we need to do, and we'll go from there. Now here's what we're going to get into here today. This is our passenger side fender for our car. Now in all, it's pretty decent shape. We do have kind of a pretty deep crease right here. Catch the reflection, you can kind of see it. Now I could probably hammer and dolly that thing out, but we definitely have rust. The inner structure, see a hole like clean through it. Outer skin is dead. Now it's only bad from about here back because look, it's the same shape as that inner structure. So I have rust from the inside out. Now the other thing I was going to do the driver's side fender. A quick little story time here. I got this fender, that fender, and the inner one sitting right there, all for $600. Thought I was doing great. Hour and a half drive one way to go get them, threw them in the back of the truck, didn't look at them too long. Thought I was in really good condition, minus that this is our driver's side fender. I thought, well, it's not too bad off. It has the same little rust going on. I mean, this is our backside, of course, but this is the area where the hood was shut down on, of course. This is our hood jam or hood gap. I looked at it initially, it just looked like little rust holes like this, but then, take the old rust checker here, and I started tapping on it, and it's putting holes clean through it. This fender is rotting from the inside out on that lip. Now, is it repairable? Yeah. Is it worth repairing? Undecided. So I'm not going to mess with the driver's side, but the advantage of doing the driver's side is in my little tiny garage, the driver's side is wide open. A lot easier to get to. Passenger side, it's tight against the wall. It's going to be hard to get the camera in there, but the reason that is kind of important is as soon as you start patching this fender, yeah, you can probably take a tape measure and make sure our point from here to here is the same when it's all done. And we could probably figure out a way to measure around these contours of the piece of tape from a little line here to here, and I can guarantee it'll be the same length. But the only thing I can't guarantee is will it be the same arc, especially since these fenders have collision damage. Is it bent? So I go through all the trouble welding this patch panel in without test fitting it. Those dimensions and measurements may be spot on, but if this curve or the radius of this fender is not the same, man, I'm in trouble. I've already welded that solid. So I'm going to try to weasel my way in that side of the garage that we do some test fitting here and get this thing installed. But I guess what we're going to get into is, let's say, where do you cut this at? How far do you go? I mean, you've got plenty of new metal with our patch panel, so we have a lot of, I guess, a leeway or however we want to, I guess, approach or attack this situation. So all in all, that thing goes almost up there to the fender well, like up here above our badge holes and everything. So I mean, I could really just cut the whole bottom of this fender off and graft this in, right? Well, I don't know if I want to do that. These body lines aren't actually not bad on this, but they're not quite as sharp or quite as clean as the original one. So I'm debating, you know, cutting it at an angle and putting it in like so, like let's try here, right, that mark there. Maybe bring it down to somewhere around here or just inside of this part here. Don't know. That's things becomes the, well, what's the best way to go about it, right? Well, sometimes just, like I said, trial and error. But I'm going to probably go ahead and just maybe do some measurements here, get some points of reference all put together so I can ensure however big, whatever we cut this into, it goes back in so at least our dimensions will measure right. But before we permanently burn it in, we're going to need a test fit there on the passenger side. So let's figure this out first. Well, after some long conversations with myself, I have determined I'm going to use the whole panel. I've never done it that way before, but just looking at this here, between the crease, the rust, I'd have to weld these holes shut. Not that I couldn't, not that that's the end of the world, but I don't know. I'm kind of thinking the whole thing is looking like the way to go. The only contours that aren't fantastic really is the one back here on the back. I got to put that on there anyway. The front one, actually, once I pull the tape off, you can see it, actually isn't that bad off. The only thing I didn't like was, you'll see my marks here. I'm going to cut that back by the time I install this. That way it matches the contour of the original fender. See how this is kind of a swoop, like a swooping larger, almost like a flat across the bottom edge here. So I've duplicated that there and translated it over to this one. Same as that. This is actually way too wide, so I'm going to match this here so it looks closer to original. I'll not lob that corner off and kind of do the same thing here. So that's the only thing I didn't, I guess you say, I don't like. Now what I've done here is I've made a tape template. I know it's so low tech, but it works so great. I line this up with the body line on the bottom of our patch panel. Now this has contours going back up, so you can't take a tape measure and measure straight up because you're going to get some discrepancies as for the height because it's just not straight line, so to speak. So the tape, this stuff doesn't stretch a whole lot, but then I marked our body line here, and this is going to be my cut line. So by the time I peel this off of here and stick it to my other fender, I should be able to cut one cut straight across this thing on the fender, and also I'm going to cut this flange off of this. I don't really like lap welding because that's like a perfect gutter. If I weld this on, that metal sitting on top, there's a channel for more crap to get wedged in there. Then we're going to have the same problem, rust. So I'd rather just butt weld it, spray in there the best that I can. We're going to go from there. So I want to transfer now my tape template onto our fender. That gives me where my cut line needs to be. And if it looks like it's all going to do great, we're literally just going to cut straight across this fender and straight across this and see how it looks. Now, hopefully this goes well. The masking tape don't have a whole lot of give. It doesn't stretch a whole lot, but it still has its limits. And surprisingly, it's sticking to this way better than I thought it was going to. Meaning, it's not coming off super smooth. Golly. Normally this stuff has like pretty low adhesive, but I should use the crappy green tape, I guess. No, it's going. Just not as smooth as I hoped it would have. I think the first thing I'm going to do is line up the bottom down here. That's Now, I just gotta cut it straight across that line there. Simple as that, right? Great. All right, well, I'm gonna trace that line now. We'll do a couple measurements just to make sure that looks like it's gonna be it, but that should be it. I'm gonna go ahead and cut across the bottom also. That way it'll separate the inner brace without flexing it a whole lot. So go straight across here, then I'm gonna go straight across here and see what we got. Now that actually cut out pretty good. Now we can see the extent of the damage. This is not good. It actually looks okay up here, but that's the problem. Bare steel, it rusts. That's just what happens. The old Fender piece here, lots of body filler squeezed through. Not the way to do that. Works like a sponge, rusts even worse, but hey, whatever. That's all cut out. Looking at it here, I guess a little closer. Yeah, it probably was the way to go. That gets more of that Fender out of the way, but anyway, that's go. That's out of here. So, just for grins and giggles, how well does this fit now, right? Let's just see. That's kind of tricky to do with one hand. Anyway, we'll put that right up against that panel. Hey, you want to see what's going on. Yeah, it's actually going to line up really nice. So I don't have to go straight across with the weld. Then we'll have to hammer that down into place a little bit. And this is where it becomes tricky, you know. How high up, I'm over exaggerating, but you know, we don't have any way to reference now our angle. So that's why I say I'll probably stitch weld that face just a little bit, then go test fit it on the other side of the car. But I need to come up with a plan for this here. I'm just gonna cut it out about an inch below here where I'm at right now, and then section the new brace into place. A couple things. I went ahead and painted the inside of my panels here because that's what we're trying to prevent, that rust. I have some kind of paint on it now. I went ahead and cut the inner structure here and cut the corner out on this side here. That way I'm going to leave this in place until I get that on, then tack weld it in position as for my depth. This is going to give me a little bit of a structure, or at least a guideline about where it needs to be. Then once I get that where I want it, then I can flip the fender over and then I can finish cutting it out. So if I didn't cut all the way into this corner, that cutoff wheel is going to have a heck of a time reaching in there. So that was just the idea behind that. This is I've never really done them this way before. It's kind of a, I guess you say, new experiment, but it's trying to think 2 steps ahead, you know? How am I going to get the cutoff wheel into that corner? Well, I just go ahead and cut it now. So anyway, that paint's got to dry for a few more minutes. Then we're going to flip that over and put a couple tacks in it there. Then we'll go over there and test fit it on the car. Now that tack, I can now adjust this up and down and in and out. You can see how much it's got all kinds of wiggle room. I also have these here to remind me where I'm at. That looks pretty good. My line lines up better. Okay. Well, that's the right height. I just don't know, it says that's a nice straight line, it should be good, but I'm going to put a tack, maybe 2 or 3 more little tacks on that, and we're going to go test it. see how this looks on this side. Over here. You know, this is what I'm looking forward to having a little bigger place to do this. I didn't plan on getting this far ahead on this car. Oh, what? What's that? Let me get you. I'm not sure how well I can get the camera in here to get you a feel for it, but I'm gonna hold this fender into place, and there we go. The gap is actually really decent all the way down. It's a little wide in one spot there, but all things considered, it's not bad. And then the radius of the fender to the door, same thing. I can't really get the camera in. It actually lines up, so I think we're okay to burn that in solid now. Now we're ready to go ahead and weld this thing all the way across. Before I do that, remember our little template hole there for our GTO badge? We lost the one because it got cut off, but I think I'll go ahead and drill these out because they're just laser etched, I guess what I understood, into the face of the metal. I don't want to lose those, so I'm going to go ahead and drill these two out. And then we're going to go ahead and stitch weld across the whole thing. Now the front side's all welded, I can now safely remove our inner structure. So I'm going to finish cutting it out where I already started my start line. So cut off weld through here, bring it straight back through here, and then we'll make this fit hopefully into there. So next thing here, go ahead and finish cutting that thing out. My idea was almost good, but I can't quite get this to get that last little bit. I don't know if I find a smaller cutoff wheel and see if I can get it in there. Now this is the why you keep the smaller wheels around, because this is too big to get in without cutting this new metal. This one, I believe I can sneak in here and finish doing that little cut here. Figure out where to cut this one here and lay it right back into place. Now, unfortunately, I think this is going to be a little taller than this piece. I may have to trim this down to make it look right, but you kind of get the idea how this is going to go. All right, got this tucked into place, shoved in here, kind of get it where it's going to be positioned. Now, I've traced the line here best that I could, sighting it where it's at. I'm going to cut it probably just on this side of the line, leave myself a little extra material, then I can bring it down to shape. Again, I've already got this primed and painted too. That way, we're not back to where we started from, bare metal. So I'll go ahead and get this cut out and see how that looks. All right, so the inner brace, I've got the length adjusted right. I got it lined up with my slot there. Not quite the same dimensions. It's actually slightly narrower, as you can see here on this side and this side than the original one. And not to mention, a little bit shorter. I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and weld it in. And I'll just trim this back at a nice angle so it looks cleaner and actually look a little better. Now this is only going to be something you would see if you poked your head in there with the door wide open and I guess inspecting the door jamb. But either way, I think it's going to work fine. I'll go ahead and burn this thing all the way around here, up the sides, and trim that back, and then I can go ahead and then proceed to put those 4 little spot welds right back into that there. That should work out pretty good. Just got to clamp that together once we get it going. So go ahead and burn this into place. Now, I've done a little cleanup on the welds, buffed on them here a little bit, cleaned that up, buffed on that vertical edge. But you can see here our height difference is definitely not going to fly, in my opinion. But that's a pretty simple thing to do, though. I think we're going to make this real easy on us and just cut that thing off kind of like that. That way, when you kind of look at it, it looks like it was always kind of that direction, or at least it was that way. So that should be the last thing I really have to do, besides go test fit it one more time. Make sure when we put this all together, we didn't bend or warp the heck out of it. That's our last little piece of cleanup there. That looks a whole lot better now. Just so you can see there, it did the 4 little spot welds, kind of what they did the original that I drilled out. Liking how it looks. This looks kind of like they did from the factory. It doesn't always pull up tight. Is here. Got a space, is here, looks good. I think I'll put a little primer on this now. I'll probably have this Fender media blasted now that it's all been welded and repaired. But in the meantime, I think I'll put a little something to keep it from corroding here, flash rusting, I guess you could say. But that's definitely a whole lot better than that rusty mess there. So I want to carry it over there one last time and see if we didn't destroy this or still lines up pretty good. Back from over there in the freezer. It's actually really cold out here today. Went ahead and did some buffing on the welds. Came out pretty good. A little bit warped right here. Probably should have kept the heat a little bit lower, but it looks like it came out pretty good, buffed out nice. All of it's pretty straight, within an acceptable tolerance. So I think we came out pretty good that way. So just a skim coat of body filler, and that should do a whole lot better than our rust hole. I still have to locate the 3rd hole there for the GTO badge. So last piece here, I think I'm going to try to cut that little rectangle out. It's going to be a little bit interesting challenge, but I do have a Dremel tool somewhere. Oh, yeah, right here. Keep walking in circles. I'm going to try to cut that out with that little tiny cut-em-off wheel and see how we do. I guess here goes nothing, right? I guess worst case, if I screw this up, that rocker trim covers it up. But we're going to try to go for it here. I've got the 2 vertical lines. I'm going to do like an X pattern. I mean, it gets down to a smaller triangle and they wouldn't cut that out of there. Now I'm going to try to just kind of work these little points off of it. Well, that gets really, really close. I'll show you where we're at. I think I got some files here. I'll see if I can finish it off with a file. But that's what that looks like up close. We have just a little bit here and a little bit there. But again, I think that's going to clear the file. Let's see if I can find those. All right, I found my little bitty files. Oh yeah, that's clean up quick. Well, very cool. That's done. Let's see what that looks like all gooder now. Look at this right here. Almost looks like it was supposed to be there. Just about to wrap this whole thing up. I went ahead and cut the bottom of the fender, radius the corners there, radius that one, that one. Opened up that opening, made it a whole lot bigger. Just put a quick coat of rattle can paint on that just to kind of give us some kind of coverage. But you can see in the reflection, it does have some deviations in that. But there's no body fill. This is all just straight metal at this point. Less than probably a credit card thickness to get that thing squared away and operational. So now the question becomes, do I fix this fender? Try to patch it up, make it work? I mean, it is definitely repairable, but the time invested. But the flip side is this, very expensive fender just to go buy another one. So I may jump on the marketplace and see if I can't find a used one somewhere then make a call whether I try to salvage this one or not. Because I have a patch for this fender, but you know as I do, whatever fender I probably buy used, it's going to need that patch. So before I install it, I think I'm going to shop around. But if not, maybe we'll get into trying to fix this fender here and make it go. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this go around. And this fender here, I've been trying to get it to fit up and mock up with that damage in the front. I'm thinking this fender is actually twisted. I cannot get it to fit very good. So with that being said, I'm on the hunt for a fender. Anyone in the Indianapolis area with a driver's side 68 or 69 Le Mans GTO fender that's in okay shape, or at least better than this one, let me know. I'd like to, see if I can pick one up and fix it up instead of doing this one here. So anyway, hope you appreciate the little tips, tricks, and do's and don'ts. Maybe you learned something, or maybe you don't, or maybe you did. I don't know. But hey, either way, had some fun playing some cars. It's about 45 degrees of not warm in here, so I'm going to wrap up, get cleaned up, go inside, and call it quits for today. Get myself thawed out. And of course, grab the camera, get back out here. Whatever we decide to get into next go around won't be the fender. Kind of running out of little projects to do to this car. Like I said, I just hauled this thing home to tinker on just a little bit until I figured out where I was going to live. But, well, I'm not squared away. I bet I need to tear this thing off the frame. I don't want to disable the car because, well, that won't be good trying to move this thing. So either way, we'll find something, hopefully some kind of video, get it coming to you. Appreciate you all following me on the journey of these old cars in this little garage, proving to you that it can be done, and you know what, it can happen in a small space without crazy expensive tools. So nonetheless, appreciate you following me. You definitely grab the camera, and we'll catch you all next time.